had a big personality. She would tell me, I know that I'm gonna die young.
It was a major blow to the music industry.
Lala Brown, an R&B singer from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, began her career by taking voice lessons, meeting with managers, performing in talent shows, and recording jingles for local radio stations. In the fall of 2005, she moved to Atlanta, Georgia, hoping to advance her career by connecting with artists, producers, and songwriters. Brown got her big break when R&B singer-songwriter Lyfe Jennings invited her to feature on his track, SEX. She toured with Jennings, but was let go after a disagreement. In June 2007, Brown returned to Milwaukee and began working with a local producer named Kool-Aid on her solo album. Their professional relationship soon turned romantic, and they started living together in a recording studio. On October 19, 2007, after not hearing from Lala and Kool-Aid for 4 days, Brown's parents reported her missing. While waiting for a warrant to search the studio, Kool-Aid's brother decided to force the door open. Inside, he was met with a strong odor. Upon entering the back room, he discovered their bodies. They were both shot and had been there so long that they were unrecognizable.
She was young, talented, and determined to make it in the music industry. That is, until her dreams and her life were brutally cut short. 17 years later, the case remains unsolved, and her family continues to deal with not knowing why their loved one was taken from them or seeing the perpetrator be held accountable for the heinous crime. Lala was born on May 20th, 1986 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She was the youngest of 5, 4 girls and 1 boy, to a Mexican mother and African-American father. At a young age, Lala, as well as her siblings, began taking dance classes. She also took voice lessons and honed her singing skills in church. She regularly participated in local talent shows, and before long, she was performing in Milwaukee area bars and clubs. Eventually, her talent caught the attention of Reggie Smooth as Butter Brown, a well-respected Milwaukee DJ. He got a call from Lala's father, asking him to host his daughter's record release party. He came and was blown away by the standing ovation the 12-year-old received. As confident and ready as Lala was to launch her career, she'd end up having to balance her music aspirations with a more important commitment. At the age of 16, she gave birth to a daughter. While the experience may have slowed other young mothers down, it only fueled Lala to be more aggressive with the pursuit of her dreams. Within the next year, she got a call from some producers that were looking to fill a spot in a 2-girl group they were putting together after one of the girls was dropped. Lala jumped at the opportunity. She was now officially one half of a girl group called Eye Candy. The experience didn't last long though, and Lala then found herself back at square one. At this point, she was also ready to spread her wings and get out of Milwaukee. She took the advice from DJ Reggie Brown and relocated to Atlanta, Georgia, in hopes of furthering her career, believing there she would have a better chance to meet artists, songwriters, and producers who could assist her. As soon as she got settled in ATL, Lala went full steam ahead, booking every opportunity she could. Later, however, she began to realize that pursuing her dream while being a full-time mom was more than she could handle alone. So she made the difficult decision to send her daughter back to Milwaukee to be looked after by her parents. Now, without the pressures of caring for a toddler, Lala was able to commit full-time to her dream of becoming a recording star. Success, though, still continued to be out of her reach, forcing her to take a job as a dancer at a local Atlanta strip club. Working at the strip club did put Lala in close proximity to many of the city's biggest hip-hop artists who frequented there. Soon, she'd cross paths with one patron in particular who would be responsible for her big break. R&B singer-songwriter Lyfe Jennings told her that he'd heard she could sing and asked her to be on his new track. Lala didn't hesitate. She signed a contract and got straight to work. The track, SEX, was a cautionary tale warning adolescent girls about the pitfalls and dangers of unprotected sex, and appeared on Lyfe's second studio album, The Phoenix. Lala's vocals were prominently featured, and she also appeared in the music video.
See, he'll tell you all kind of things to get in your head.
3 years after the murders, the case received a glimmer of renewed hope when it was featured on the long-running television series America's Most Wanted in 2010. The show, known for spotlighting unsolved crimes and helping generate leads through public tips, gave Lala and Jatan's story a national platform. The segment shared details of the young couple's promising career, the tragic discovery at the Loud Enough production studio, and the mysterious circumstances surrounding their death, including the threats that Lala had reportedly received shortly before her death. And viewers got to hear directly from Marshall Duke, who recalled the chilling conversation with Lala just days before the murder. The episode reignited public interest in the case for a brief moment. It seemed like this national exposure might finally lead to a break. Tips did come in, but once again, no arrest followed. For Lala's family, the America's Most Wanted appearance was a bittersweet milestone. It brought attention to the case that had long been neglected, but it also served as a painful reminder that even the national exposure couldn't guarantee justice. The leads fizzled out, and once again, the investigation stalled. Still, the episode did help preserve Lala's story and introduced her to a wider audience who had never heard her voice or knew her dreams. It reminded the public that behind every cold case is a person who was loved, a life cut short, and a family that was still searching for answers. As the years dragged on, the silence became unbearable. For their families, it was a constant gnawing pain.
Lala Brown, a.k.a. Yolanda Brown, I guess you had met her because she had, worked at a strip club or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So was that like, when she jumped on that song, was that like her first like vocal appearance on an album?
Yeah, she wasn't even supposed to be on that song. Actually, I had another girl on that song, and the girl had already finished the song, but her boyfriend was her manager. And I don't know why he got into his mind that maybe me and her had something going on, which, I would never do that. And he stopped letting me talk to her, straight calling her on the phone. He was like, yo, you got to run it through me. First of all, I ain't asked you to sing on the song, right? So I'm not running nothing. You a manager, you can talk to my manager. And so basically when he stopped that, I just was like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm doing, a service to you. And so I started looking for somebody else, and Lala I just happened to meet her in the club,
Okay, so she came to the studio, laid down the same part, basically?
Yeah. She laid the same part down in her own unique way, which added to the song, I think.
Great song.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my favorite all-time songs by you. I got to listen to it on the way here, and just the way it sort of breaks down like a young girl kind of figuring out her sexuality and try to take advantage of her and everything else like that. It's almost like every father's worst nightmare in a song, kind of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's something that's forever. People, that's going to be relevant forever.
Absolutely. So she went on tour with you at one point?
Yes, she went on tour with me.
Okay. And then she left the tour. Was it under good circumstances or not so good?
Come on, man. You know the answer to that. Why are you trying?
Okay. So a situation happened where she got kicked off the tour. All right?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I'm going to just keep it all the way, because I don't know how to be. I don't want to be lying. They didn't have to backtrack on lying. Lala was a lot to deal with. And I think most talented people are. They got so much energy, man. Very well liked. Like it was, I can't even tell, because me personally, I didn't think Lala was that fine to me. But I'm talking about every single dude. It was something about her. They used to lose their mind about this girl, man. Like, she was just special, like, and that kind of got to her head. Like, I remember one time we was on tour and we was in Lala hometown. So Lala was already there, and I come to the dressing room, and there's a security dude at my dressing room. He don't even want to let me in the dressing room. He opened the door. He said, wait a minute. He opened the door and asked Lala, is it all right for him to come in? Lala was like, yeah, he can come. I say, no, this shit got to stop, bro. But yeah, so we had some words on tour, and we had words before. And my intentions was to just send Lala home for a little while, and hopefully that she would, because I don't want no beef on the tour between her and my band and none of that. I sent her home. And then we had an argument when she got home. So I was just like, yeah, it's just best for you to stay there,
Okay. Well, she left the tour, and her and her producer, a guy named Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
were shot and killed.
I mean, and again, in retrospect, if I didn't knew that was gonna happen, then I would have figured it out. You know.
Of course. I mean,
Yeah.
who would have known something that tragic was going to occur?
One of the low points of my career. Yeah. You know.
Okay, so when you heard the news, how bad did it affect you?
I mean, look, we used to all sleep on the same tour bus. Eat together, everything. It was almost like, she was a sister, you know what I'm saying? So
Here is part 2 to the case of Lala Brown and Jaton Claiborne. Lala's family was trying desperately to find out where they had gone, and so they tried getting into the studio but were unable to do so. They asked the landlord if he could let them into the studio, but he said he was unable to do that without a warrant. Still not being able to reach Lala or Jaton, they decided to go to the police and file a missing persons report, but this again was taking way too long. The family decided to take matters into their own hands, and they took the door down themselves. Inside the studio, they found the bodies of Lala and Jaton. They had been deceased for roughly 3 days. Autopsies were done on both Lala and Jaton, but the cause of death has never been released. In fact, none of the autopsy report has ever been released. And since then, it seems like there's basically been no leads. In 2010, their case was featured on America's Most Wanted, but that didn't seem to lead nowhere. And then in 2012, their case was featured on Celebrity Crime Files, but again, it seemed to lead nowhere. Then in 2017, Lala's father came forward and said that the detectives on Lala's case had a solid case put together against someone who had already been incarcerated in Milwaukee. They said they had sent this to the district attorney's office for prosecution, but the prosecutor said that the case was still open and still actively being investigated. So what happened? Since then, there has been basically no movement on the case, or at least none that I could find, and Lala and Jaton are not talked about hardly ever anymore. I did find a couple of videos here on TikTok talking about Lala, and I highly encourage you to find them and watch them yourselves and look into Lala and Jaton's case. I feel like this is one of those that could be easily solved with a little bit of digging. But the world lost 2 beautiful people that day, and I feel like justice should be served not only for Lala and Jaton, but for their families who need to know what happened. So what are your thoughts on this case?